Hi, it's Richard Geller, and I've got a lot of questions that have come in about super trusts. So I wanted to answer some questions for you in this video. Specifically, I wanted to tell you how super trusts work and stuff like that. What's the difference between a super trust and a regular trust? Why does a super trust work well? What makes it better than a land trust, living trust, or LLC? And I'm not a lawyer. This isn't legal advice. This is education. I may be wrong. I may not know I don't know your situation. I don't know what's right in your state. So check everything out you hear and don't hold me responsible. Okay, there's no such thing as a super trust, right? In a way, anyone can get your assets given enough time and money and authority. But even the IRS plays by rules. So what we do is we work within the rules, and we raise the cost and trouble that someone has to go through to get your chips. And if we raise the cost and the trouble high enough, we can discourage a lot of people, or most people, or maybe everyone is trying to go after you. So if you're a lawyer, here's what a super trust is. It's an intentionally defective, irrevocable grantor trust funded in exchange for private annuity. I know that's like a whole mouthful, so I'm going to explain what I'm talking about here. So the basic idea, though, is a grantor, someone like your dad, your mom, a really, really close friend, a really close family member, sets up the trust. They don't put a lot of money in, but they set it up. So now you and your spouse are the trustees. You and your spouse or kids are the beneficiaries, and you and your spouse control the investment decisions. You control everything. And now the only difference is the assets aren't in your name. So if someone goes after you, you don't have assets. And they really can't go after the trust because the trust didn't do anything. All it does is holds assets. And it's not you, it's something else. So that's the basic idea. You're the one that's doing business and running things. The super trust owns the assets but doesn't do anything. So that's the basic idea. And if you want to look at it graphically, starting from the left side, your dad creates and maybe partly funds a trust for you. You and your wife are a trustee. It's better if it's a third party, mainly if things get really ugly, and you can always transfer the trustee responsibilities to a third party if things get really ugly. Then what you do is you sell your stuff to the trust, and you sell it in exchange for a private annuity. And that way, when you sell your stuff to the trust, there's an arm's length bona fide transaction, which if anybody questions, commercially reasonable, and therefore since the trust gave something in return for what you gave it, it's not easy to get that back out of the trust. And the beneficiaries are you and your family. So the key point, someone else is the grantor. A super trust is a grantor trust, but someone else is the grantor. If you were the grantor yourself, the trust could easily be defeated by creditors. You can't be all three, grantor, trustee, and beneficiary, and have a good trust. So if someone else sets up the trust and is in the role of the grantor, it's irrevocable or irrevocable. An irrevocable trust has a separate existence from you and your assets. It can't easily be attacked like revocable trust can. However, if you did change your mind, and what if you wanted to dissolve the trust? Well, you could do that, but it's generally an involved process. Sometimes you need agreement of the beneficiaries and a court hearing to dissolve it, depending on your state. But in many cases, it can be reversed if you change your mind later. It's intentionally defective. Why do we want you to do something defective? Well, the reason is that we don't want this trust to have to pay separate taxes because the tax rates for trusts in most cases are much higher than for people. Not always, but in most cases. So what we do is we make it for tax purposes defective so that the trust does not exist as far as the IRS is concerned. The trust does not exist, so you just pay your taxes in exactly the same way as you did before. The trust doesn't exist as far as the IRS is concerned. It's transparent to the IRS, doesn't even have to file a tax return. So this keeps the tax issues very, very simple. You don't put things in a super trust. If you just put things in, then someone could easily take them out. What you do is you sell them to the super trust. You see, that's the whole issue here. You sell things to a super trust, and you use an arm's length reasonable price. So if you put your house, your real estate, your stocks, you don't put it in the trust. You sell it to the trust. That's the key point here. And what you do is you sell your stuff, and the super trust pays you not a note, because a note could be seized by creditors. A super trust gives you an annuity, a private annuity. And that private annuity gives you an income and protects you against a creditor saying it wasn't a bona fide transaction. This is what all makes it a super trust. Don't try this on your own. Get a good understanding of how they're designed. I am going to do a course on super trusts, and you could take it to a good lawyer, and good luck with that. Thank you so much.